Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United. We're back. AFU Last Word is here. It's a bit of a weird one today because we've got some big talking points to talk about. Not actually the game which we won, but the talking points surrounding it. But the biggest talking point of them all.
You had to do me now. You had to do that. Yes, I had a bit of a shave.
We do a tactical preview. Stu, what do you make of that? What do you make of that trim?
Well, the problem is he's gone in from the left too far and he hasn't quite balanced it out on the right. So that's the biggest problem. When you go through in the middle, you can see the gap just there. It's a central midfielders. They can penetrate quite nicely. Flick it out to the wide and then in.
Yeah, James doesn't know what he's talking about here.
I was just going to say, James, just for you, that's called puberty, mate. One day you'll reach it. One day, mate. If you sit there and you hope long enough, oh God, come on, hair, come out my chin, it will happen. All right. I love it. Ever the professional. He's got himself muted. He's just sat there going,
he's not biting.
Yeah. I don't need to say anything yet, Ben. We've got an hour. I don't need to say anything yet.
You've got an hour of this. That's what you've got. Welcome back, everyone. Make sure you hit subscribe. If you're watching on Twitter, come and make sure you check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/All for United, or search All for United on YouTube. Get in the live chat and we'll come over to your comments as we chat today. Connor's got in the comments saying, Benny, please tell me you've kept your cap.
I have got my cap, but it's over there. I can't bother to get it.
No, Benny, you look great. Don't let these guys bring you down. I think you look
super. I think it's great. Yeah, no, I think it's good.
I think you look great. It's all good.
It's all good. It's all good.
You're looking clean.
We're looking clean,
anyway,
right, for once.
I didn't say that. Let's chat about yesterday's game, and let's start with a clip that you gave to us, Benny, and it's done wonders on here, so thank you for sharing that with us. But it's around the scenes at full time and the jeers off the pitch that Paul Pogba got. It was very loud, the boos, and of course when he got substituted, the boos and the chants as well. Just tell us a bit about the atmosphere yesterday, Benny, because obviously it started with a protest, but we'll get on with that, and then obviously it got really sour with Pogba. Why do you think they turned on Pogba? Why did match-going fans inside Old Trafford turn on Pogba yesterday, do you think?
I don't think it's just yesterday, though. I think this is a culmination of things coming to head over the last, probably over the last couple of months. I'd say now I've noticed there's been a lull, even in the away, even away matches and the away ends. You know, when it's usually bouncing and we're usually really loud. You can hear us on telly. I've noticed there's been a kind of a dip. You know, a bit of a lull and. It's like we stopped believing, and not stop believing, but it's like that we're just fed up with the same old crap now. You know, it's like so much we could do as fans. It's like it's now you know we're now looking at the players. You know, it's your turn to show us a little bit of something, a little bit of passion. And obviously, I was at Everton away last week as well, and I tweeted out a video which did pretty well as well, went pretty viral off my own account. Where at full time, every player walked straight past them. All right, there was no exception of 3 or 4 that did a little clap, but hardly came to the way end to acknowledge. They all went down. It was not quite a tunnel because obviously since COVID, Everton have sort of redeveloped. The away team comes out one end and the home team comes out the other end. But certainly, so they all had to walk past us anyway. And even the manager, Ralph Rangnick, didn't even acknowledge us at all. Another one just went straight down the tunnel. Well, it's not even a tunnel, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, and I think it was a combination of that. And then I noticed a lot of people, when as soon as they seen the result, as soon as the full time whistle went, and obviously it was a bad game. It was a terrible game. And we obviously Ronaldo was the first one, as per usual, to sort of, you know, make his way towards that area, you know, but he was checking his legs, so he wasn't quite as quick as he usually is to bomb himself down the tunnel without any acknowledgement. Pogba was another one, no acknowledgement, and the fans were starting to go that this is when they're not fit to wear the shirts. Actually, first came in, not on Old Trafford. There was a few people behind me shouting, "You lot are not all fit Not one of you's are fit to wear a shirt. Get the fuck off the pitch. Get out of here. We don't care. You know, not one of you's put in any pride today. Not one of you's showed any passion. And I had another guy, sort of about 3 rows to my left, just screaming at him, show us something. Show us that it means that you care. Then there was a couple that showed us a little bit, you know. Fair play to David De Gea. He's as per usual. He gave a shirt to a child in the crowd, gave a clap, but he actually came to the crowd, whereas the rest of them just sort of tried the best to avert us. And I also put it down. The thing with Pogba though was his performance at Everton was shit. You know, all he did was just walk aimlessly around the pitch for his time on the field. And yes, yesterday was a bit of a better performance from Paul Pogba. He wasn't the worst player on the football field, but I just think that frustration has finally come to a boil again with Pogba. You know, with reports that United prepared to offer him 500k a week or whatever it is. And you see him churn out performances like he did against Everton. Yes, he was a little bit better yesterday against Norwich, but still was nowhere near his best, or certainly the best that we've seen from him. And I was surprised, though. I wasn't surprised at the booing, but I was surprised because it did come from the TRA, the chance "fuck off Pogba," and that really says it all to you when the fans are really fed up. And the TRA, the Red Army, are the most loyalist of loyal. They get shit from from people that are saying, oh, that they're in with the Glazers, that they're this, that that, they're in with the club, that etc., etc. So to actually hear him vocally turn on poor Pogba like that, I was stunned, mate. I didn't think I'd ever hear that, to one of our players, because usually United fans are, we're usually better than that. We usually, yes, you hear the booing and everything. But I've never in my life heard anyone that like fuck, say F off to a player ever in my life, And I thought it was a bit strange. And he got booed, he got heckled as he came off. And then at full time, and that's why I picked my phone up. I thought something's going to kick off as soon as Pogba's coming down, comes down the touchline and goes down the tunnel. Because if that was the reaction when he went off, he got substituted, I knew something was happening. So I know it's not the best view from my phone. My phone. I've done something to my camera, so he's not taking the videos properly. But anyway, I put it up, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to capture this. Something's going to happen here. And lo and behold, the booing, the heckling started, and then he was obviously put his hand to his ear, and I think he's there nodding and smiling as well, sort of trying to bait it even more, if you will. And then he disappears down the tunnel. But I just put it down to fans just had enough of watching players on an awful lot of money that are constantly whoring themselves out to other clubs, as in Pogba does, via his agent. He's never shut his agent up, never told his agent, don't listen, I'm a Manchester United player, I'm a contract to United, don't be doing things like that, don't be saying things like that. And then he doesn't help himself when he goes on international duty and he's constantly flirting with other clubs, or I like Juventus, or I like this and that, or whatever it may be. I just think fans have just had enough of that, of the shit that they've seen from these players. Not every player is at fault. Obviously, there's some that do work, that their bollocks off, do work hard, and they may be struggling because the team's struggling at the minute as a unit, because it's not a unit at the minute. It's very fractured. It's very, and then I see people say, oh, it's because United fans, are racist. We're not racist. We booed and jeered off Harry Maguire, numbers of times this season he's been booed, he's been heckled, he's been screamed at, and again, it's a culmination of, fans are getting frustrated. These players are on an awful lot of money and they should be doing more than showing a little bit more fight, a little bit more passion for the shirt. They're trudging around like they haven't got a care in the world. And that's why when I put the video up when they was trudging off at Everton, does anybody care? Who cares? And I'll say this, and I'll end up with this. Solskjaer got absolute pelters from, especially at Watford away. I think a lot of us knew the time was at the end. He got booed, he got jeered. Things weren't going right then. But Solskjaer had the bottle. He had the balls to come up really, really close to the away fans, clap, hold his hands up. You could tell. You don't need a lip read to say, "I'm sorry. I know it's not good enough. I'm sorry." You know, he had the balls, he had the passion, he had the belief to do that. Where are these players? They can't. You're going to tell me they're going to hide behind another manager when we hire Eric Ten Hag, if it is to be Ten Hag, which we all know it's going to be, but by looks of it, you know, they're not going to. He's not going to take no shit. It's about time we get a manager in where these players can't hide behind. They took Mourinho under the bus. They took Solskjaer under the bus. They took Ralph Rangnick under the bus. I think they really have, in my opinion. We all know he's an interim boss. He's here for a short period of time. But are they really trying for him? There's some out there that have been, but a lot of them, I'm sorry, but you haven't cut the mustard for a long time. You know, were you going to blame it on this time? You blamed it on Ollie before, and some of them that have been around with Jose, you blamed them on your performances and your dire shit that you've been churning out on him. So, obviously, now what are you going to blame now? Ralph Rangnick? Because you knew it was only going to be a short-term appointment. You know, you lot chucked all under the bloody bus. You know, what was you going to expect? You're not going to hire a full-time permanent manager straight away? No, because they're waiting to try and get the best in class that they can get, you know, to try and get someone to kick these players, kick their asses into gear, basically, you know.
Benny, I think it's an incredible insight that you've just offered there, and I think it's telling that, and I saw from what you said in the group chat, but didn't make it very public, to be fair, that noise was all coming from the Red Army, because that dispels the myth.
It's when I said the Red Army as well, the Stretford, but for people that don't go to Old Trafford, obviously the Stretford is notoriously more vocal end of the ground, and obviously the TRA now, since they've got a good section in the Stretford end, people have moved around, you know, to be with their mates, to be vocal, to try and get some sort of atmosphere going at Old Trafford, because at times we all know that for those that have gone, it's a bit dull, you know, and then they're trying to pump up the atmosphere. And it's a lot of the hardcore fans all sit in the Stretford end, either whether they're with the TRA or they're on their own in the second upper tier, where a lot of them would have been before the TRA even existed. And I just think it's a culmination of not only how the club's run, but the players as well. We could blame the Glazers for all we want. We could blame how the club's been run from top to bottom over the last 17 years. But at the end of the day, the players have got to show more. The fans are now starting to go, listen, we backed you lot with Jose. Yeah, Jose, time to go. We backed you lot with Ollie. Yeah, we all love Ollie. It was time for him to go. You know, it wasn't quite working out. We still love Ollie. But you're not showing anything under Ralph. Come on, where's your passion? You know, and I think it's really turned its head. And I've noticed it so much this season, even at away games where your most hardcore fans go week in, week out to aways. And I've never known it to be as lull as it has been, and never known an away end to turn on a United team like that before, like they did at Everton away.
Mm-hmm. I think the point I was going to make, Benny, is I think it dispels the myth online that they reckon that a lot of let's say maybe semi-match going fans, or even tourist fans, or maybe people in the ground who aren't regularly at games, and they were the ones who are booing. I think it slightly dispels that myth because of the people who sit on the Stretford end, and also the fact of where the Red Army is at. But also, I think the TRA were probably riled up anyway because of the protests that happened beforehand. And I've seen quite a few pictures of members who I know of the Red Army who were leading the protests and key figures in the protests as well, which we'll get onto. So they had every reason to voice their concerns and their anger. But I think it was just interesting how loud it was, the reaction he got. I think it's interesting what you say there, Benny, about his performances, James. I think that's where I'll come to you next. Obviously, you, Stu, Abdel, Callum, Marcus talk a lot on the tactical preview about players fitting in different systems and their performances. Well, you know, slightly putting on your match review head, what did you make of Pogba's performance yesterday? And was it just an echo of how he's been performing recently?
I actually thought it was a respectable performance from Pogba. I mean, you know, we're talking about his statements with France where he's saying, I don't know where United expect me to play. It was a proof of that again. You're expecting a player who, against Man City away just a couple of months ago, was played in a false nine. You're now playing him as a solo defensive midfielder, a player who can't defend. Let's not cut the shit here. He cannot defend, and you're expecting him to do that. I thought in that sense, his performance was very respectable. Offered things going forward, progressed the ball well, even won the ball back a few times, which is, like a miracle for him. But yeah, that's why it confused me. That sort of why now go for Pogba. I understand I can understand the frustration with Pogba. I don't think he deserved that reception, especially not after that performance, it confused me with the timing of everything. But yeah, a long story short, to answer your question, I thought he played well. Definitely not one of the worst players on the pitch by any means. As he tends to do, faded out of the game towards the end before he was subbed off. But I suppose Marcus raised a good point earlier, on the show that you're going to watch tomorrow as well, that this is a player who's not eaten all day. His energy levels are naturally going to drop off as he's celebrating Ramadan. So these are all factors that you have to keep in mind. And yes, he's not been in form, but we have to look back at that statement. There's no consistency with his role on the pitch. So how can you expect him to be consistent on the pitch in that sense?
But is it statements like that and everything that comes before it, James, where the frustration just notches up the reports of the contract and how much that would potentially cost to keep him as to why that reaction happened? And let's face it, for Pogba, as you said, he was in a bit alien territory this weekend in terms of the position he played, and given thoughts that were aired beforehand, it was going to turn sour at some point with Pogba between now and the end of the season, because we're all convinced he's going. Do you think yesterday, just with the protest, again, his performance wasn't anything special, but also wasn't anything awful?
Yeah.
Do you think maybe that's why it spilled over yesterday?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, listen, I'm not going to deny that Pogba hasn't given United fans enough fuel to fire a bit of a dislike towards him, especially given that the only way we can keep him at the club is if we offer a record amount of wages, which really shows what his intentions would be with United. It perhaps shows what his intentions were with United in the first place. I guess we'll never know. But, I imagine a lot of the frustration as well comes from how good of a player we know he is and what we've seen of him, whether that's our fault or his or a culmination of both. But there's definitely, it's been building, and it was almost guaranteed to, sort of boil over before the end of the season. We've seen him commit to this team and still get stick from the fans. So the fact that he's now definitely leaving, it was going to happen eventually. I sort of hope it doesn't happen again. It's out of the way now. United fans have let Pogba know that they don't really like him. Pogba's let United fans know that he doesn't really care anymore. Just part ways like that, I think it would probably be fair enough.
Do you know, whenever I see the reports of how much Pogba wants to get, I always wonder to myself, how much would it take to bring in probably one of the best English centre-halves to Manchester United, Stuart Woolley? How much money would he want to be put on the table to play for Manchester United? He'd be bloody expensive, wouldn't he?
Do you know what? He'd come in cheap because of he'd come in cheap because he'd want to play.
I can tell though by the fact you're drinking a bottle of Heineken, you'd be cheap.
It's Beck's actually. I wouldn't touch Heine with a.
Oh, Beck's. Well, even worse.
I don't even like Beck's side of it. I was looking for beer in the fridge, and
it's like stale fragrance, Beck's.
Yeah, finish off my Guinness and my craft. I've got no craft beer left at all, so I've got to order some. So I was struggling, so I've got Beck's. But
looking at Benny's new style, he's going to be buying craft beer soon. Look at him.
Well, he knows
110%.
He knows it. But no. I would play for free, just like most players would. The problem is that
no, you wouldn't. Right, wait a second. Right, the world's richest football club comes to you and goes, Stu, look, we need some cover at centre half. Like, come and play. You would not go. Don't pay me a penny and let me play.
Why is Newcastle put an offer in for him?
No, they've got more sense than money.
I'm too good for Newcastle, I tell you. No, you're right. Here we go. You don't do anything for free. No, you're absolutely right.
How much? Don't tell everyone that.
No,
everyone else is sat on this panel anyway.
Well, that's true, but you've got to earn a living. But I just think.
Do you see James's face? James's face then was like, "Oh, I could earn some money."
Yeah, just a tiny bit. But I just think you've got to look at. Look, I don't like modern football anyway. It's wrong in every way, in every possible way. Modern football is, and it will continue to be wrong until an owner takes a stand and realizes that the players aren't as infallible as they make out. And time.
Sorry, Carol, mate. Sorry. I thought you were saying that.
I was going to say every time you you fire a manager because he can't get a so-called tune out of a footballer. It's an absolute load of bollocks. And I've said this before, and I'll keep saying it. It isn't the manager that makes you play well. It's you as an individual. You're the only one that can affect your performance. You're the only one that can affect players and then around you. It just doesn't come from the manager. And unfortunately, until managers are almost taken off the hook, then players like Pogba, players like Tevez, all these money-grabbing players will continue to steal a living from football clubs. And unfortunately, that's where you're going to be. And people like, and Benny's right, actually, you can criticise Pogba, you can criticise Maguire, you can criticise Rashford, you can criticise anybody, but there comes a stage in a player's life, certainly after you've done 12 months in the Premier League, where you're that comfortable, your family's comfortable, your motivation just disappears. What's the big mystery for me is I've never really understood Pogba's motivation at all in terms of playing football. I don't see how somebody like Pogba has lost that inner child within him, that when he was 4 years old, he was out in the streets of Paris or wherever he was brought up, kicking a football around like probably all of us have done in our youth. I mean, crikey, when we were growing up, when we were 8, we built our own football pitch. We went to a piece of grass and we built our own football pitch. We got our parents to badger the council, and they gave us 2 crappy, and I'm not joking, crappy 5-a-side goals, which we got our parents to position. We painted. We got gloss paint or whatever from the people from our parents' garages, and we did our own football pitch. That's how much we wanted to play. I still get excited now, and I look forward to a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Thursday. James hates it because I'm having to go all the time, but I still get excited, and I don't get paid for playing anymore. Not that I got paid a lot anyway, but I don't. I just do it because I can't. For some reason, there's something inside me that won't let me quit. My knees are telling me to quit. The wife's telling me to quit, but something won't let me quit. So I cannot get my head around, purely from my own point of view, how somebody like Pogba can walk around, or somebody like Dallo can be so bad. Somebody like Tellers can be so bad with their positional sense, and they've had the highest caliber training for most of their lives, and I can't get my head around it. So James makes a good point.
I remember, Stu, when I was younger, seeing as we're telling stories, I remember using my pocket money to buy some chalk. And around the back of my house in one of the, I suppose it's not an estate, but more like a cul-de-sac, there were 2 brick walls either side of what garages sat on. And I bought some chalk and drew goalposts on the chalk. So me and my mates on the pavement, where there was a curb as well, by the way, could play football within a goal like that. But also I remember, because I was so obsessed with Beckham and Giggs, and I remember just putting dots on the wall for one touch and trying to hit those dots every time that I kicked the ball, and I put them everywhere to try my left foot and my right foot. But that's what I found fun. That was me. And even if now I had nothing to do, I'd probably still go and do that. Like I love stuff like one touch. I love stuff like even like curbsy, but playing it instead of hands, playing it with the ball out of feet, trying to play curbsy. Today, it was my kids' party, right? And for the half an hour setup before, left the women crack on with it. Me and Charlotte's uncle and my little lad, we were using the bouncy castle as a goal. And we got these little balls, and we were shooting them in the goal, and they were jumping on the bouncy castle. So, like that, to me, any opportunity to create a football goal, to have a shot at goal, to score a goal. I don't know about you guys, but that's still perfect for me.
Just adding on to that then is, and I'll just touch on James's point after, but you had somebody you could really aspire to be. Players like Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, Beckham, Gary Neville to an extent, depending on where you chose to play, which position you liked. Peter Schmeichel, real quality footballers, Vidic Ferdinand. I could go on forever. Even Laurent Blanc, when he came, he still added something at his tender age. But today, who have they really got to aspire to be? Who can you really? You never aspire to be Pogba, because if you modelled your game on Pogba, you'd never get anywhere, even in Junior League football, let alone Premier League football. And so, as much as I concede Pogba did okay yesterday, James. You're absolutely right. He did okay. But an 80 million or an 86 million pound player should do more than okay when he's asked to play out of position. He should do more than okay. And these guys, they've got no wherewithal. They've got no foresight. They don't look at other areas of the pitch where they may be needed throughout the season. They certainly don't research it. They don't research the opposition anymore because, unfortunately, players are now lazy, and they're allowed to be lazy because you've got an analytics department who's doing one or two bits and pieces. But what he's not doing is drilling down to, where he's best. Does he chest control better, or does he have it to feet better? Does he back in well? Does he turn on his right? Does he turn on his left? Will he elbow you to get you out of the way? Will he back edge you and things of that nature? You need to know all of that about your opposition.
I think it's gone. Stu, I think that's gone. Sorry, Bainesy, I'm going to come over to you in a second, Baines, on this, but this is a really interesting. I think the art of positioning and the art of off the ball has gone. We've spoken about this before. Like, off the ball movement is not a difficult thing to pick up if you actually watch football. I don't think enough people watch football anymore. I think I properly watch football.
Absolutely agree.
I think they watch and listen to commentary more than they watch the actual game unfolding. Because I remember when we used to talk about players like, Cavani works hard. You've got to be in the stadium to see it, like, for the 90 minutes. Like, I just don't think that people watch the game as intently even more. Another example is my nephew, Owen, who's a good player, is all right. When he's got the ball, he's fine. If he's making a run forward, he's fine. If he's tracking back, no chance. Absolutely no chance. Like, he doesn't know where he's going. He can't think about what that player who he's meant to be marking might do next. He can't be clever and grab a yard. And I think that's part of the issue with a lot of footballers now. I don't think they watch the game as much. And actually, it's reminded me, I think it's Emil Smith-Rowe gave an interview to Arsenal TV, the Arsenal TV channel. And they asked him who he grew up watching. And I think he turned around and said, I didn't watch football growing up. Or something along those lines.
It was Ben White.
To me, was it Ben White? Yes, it might have been Ben White, actually. You might be spot on. Yeah, and he said, I didn't watch football growing up. I just play it. That says, I reckon there's a lot more footballers out there today. When you go back through the time, Benny, you can vouch for this, Stu, you can vouch for this. Go back through, like Bobby Charlton lived and breathed football. Go back to even Eric Cantona. All these people, they grew up with a football at their feet. Like Roy Keane, Brian Robson,
Wayne Rooney, I think the last sort of what I would call like an old school footballer, a connoisseur of the game. He lived, breathed football. He's the last sort of street footballer that you'll see. That sort of football that knew how to track back, knew he had to work hard, had everything about his game. I don't see that in youngsters growing up now. You are right though. I watch a lot of the academy sides. And some of them, when they lose ball, or the team's out of possession, they're so laboured in getting back. There's no sprint, there's no real run, there's just nothing there. But as soon as the ball's in the forward positions, they're chasing it after. They're chasing it as quick as Usain Bolt on a 100-metre sprint.
Just before Bainesy comes in, and by the way, Ben, you make a brilliant point because that's why Maguire gets so much stick. Maguire gets so much stick because they're not watching the play. They're not watching the whole play unfold. They're just watching that little tiny piece of what happens. And that's why Maguire's getting so much stick, because they're not seeing everything unfold. Sorry, Bainesy.
Yeah. And by the way, Tyrone, spot on here with Tevez, another great shout. And do you know who I've just thought of now, Benny, just to trump the Rooney? Aguero. Who said had to retire? Yeah, Aguero, a proper street footballer. But when you look at Neymar, that's more like the FIFA street Samba type of generation, not like the inner
typical Brazilian street footballer.
Rough it out. I actually quickly, Bainesy, before we go into this, I'm really intrigued by this. Have you got any early football memories? I'm going to come to James in a second as well and chat about this. I think this is really interesting. Do you have like any?
My earliest memory was probably, as far as I can remember, and this is probably going to tell my age now because I'm probably
62.
The earliest memory I had was the Cantona kick.
Did you try and recreate it? Did you go to fields and just try to like kick someone in the knee?
No, because you know what? When I was growing up, as much as I love football, like my dad was football mad. He played semi-pro in goal. All my uncles played football. All Man United fans, blah blah blah. And I actually growing up, I played a lot of cricket. Being the Indian, so I played a lot of cricket when I was growing up. But no. In all seriousness, the Cantona kick was the against Crystal Palace. That was the first thing that I can remember, and then it was. I do obviously not 99 was the leading up to 99, and when Arsenal came in with Wenger, that's when I started loving football, and I was like, this is a bit of me. I love this, and I was only I was 7 at the time. So
did you play, Bainesy? Did you play it much football?
Yeah, I did. That's when I started actually playing, and again, it was only like under 8s, under 9s, 10s, and then obviously I've played throughout all the years. Played 11s, played 11-a-side, 7-a-sides. Again, if this is nothing like a serious level, or we're talking Sunday League in some like competitive leagues, but I still play, and I must say that the whole Ben White, that interview, I saw that interview and I was like, how have you grown up and how have you got into football without hardly watching it? Which is a bit weird. And I think it is the analytics. I think it's the data team that come in and they sit you down and they go, right, okay, we need you to improve this, and this. But I don't think it goes into so much detail at some clubs. And I know, I forgot the guy's name. McKenna. I know McKenna had a very keen eye of detail of going in one-to-one with some players when he was here at United, and even at Ipswich now. Apparently, there's loads of reports that McKenna is so fine on the details. And I don't. This whole Pogba situation is one of my favourite players, but he is starting to piss me off as well now.
Go on, Bainesy, have him.
Honestly, no, it's not that. Look, I don't like the booing. I don't like the heckling. I don't like any of that, because as United, as fans, the only things we can do is, of course, every single one of us has an opinion. But the best thing that we can do is support the players, cheer them on when they're low. Just try and pick them up. Just do something. I get that the circus around Pogba doesn't help him at all. It doesn't. It really doesn't, because I can't defend that part of him. Basically, so he knows that he's got Raiola, and he knows his agent, and he knows Raiola's going to come out and say this, that, and the other, and then he's got his brother saying stuff. He should really get them both together and go, shut up. I'm in contract for United. I love the club, or this, that, or whatever. Don't say anything. But then again, he doesn't help himself. He's getting booed and jeered off, and he's cupping his ear and all sorts. He has been one of my favourite players in the recent years, and I do really like him. We all know he's not going to extend his contract, and he's going to go. But it's just, I don't really want him to go like this. I've always thought that he was, when he came in, especially, and again, that price tag is always going to loom on his head as much as Harry Maguire. 80 million. It's not really their fault. It was the club's fault that pretty much overpaid for them both. But yeah, it's sad to see it as it is. I don't necessarily agree with all the booing and everything. It was a bit, I weren't really sure about that, but I can completely understand where Benny's coming from. I can completely understand where Stu's coming from. This is a culmination of years and years of respect that he hasn't really shown to United fans. And there's some really, really loyal fans there that are behind him, which is it's a bit disrespectful in that front. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, he's going to leave. We'll try and get someone else in, and we march on.
What I will say as well, what I will say though, is under Solskjaer, not in the too distant past, we was all like, this is one of the most likable United teams in a long time. Yeah. And it's amazing how quickly that's changed now to one of the most unlikable United teams of all time. You speak to fans in and around you, it's like, especially the older generation that have seen before Fergie's years, that have seen us struggle, seen us down in Division 2. They go, yeah, sometimes we have players of mixed ability, but they always tried. They always played for the shirt. You look at it now, you're like, some of them just don't seem like they're interested, don't seem like they're bothered, happy just to pick up a fat paycheck, And it's just like, listen, at the end of the day, as football fans, listen, you win some, you lose some, you draw some. That's all. That's the game of football, unfortunately. You can't win everything in life. But so long as we play good football and we play football like we give a shit, we go down. If we lose, we go down fight. We go down fighting like we did under Sir Alex Ferguson loads of times. If we lost the game, but at least we lost the game going down fighting. We chucked everything at it. We gave everything. You look at it now, and it's like you're not giving us much, and that's why when I harp back onto what I said. When the players were coming off against Everton and there's fans going, show us something, show us that you care, show us that you're pissed off. I'm not saying, I'm not advocating for anyone to break people's legs or anything. Put people in the stands, kick the opposition, do something. Just show something like that. You're interested in playing for Manchester United. It still means a lot. Don't be sat on your ass there throwing your arms around like a petulant little child and taking 10 years to get up while the opposition are on a counter attack. Just show us something.
On that, like this being the most likeable side, Stu, I think we've done a show at the start of the season and we've done another show when Rangnick took over. I do think that our best 11 that we started the season with when Ronaldo came in, on paper, had the ability to be a side that United fans could fall in love with. You've got David De Gea turning into a club legend. You've got Wan-Bissaka, a young English right-back Spider-Man. You've got an old-fashioned English centre-back in Harry Maguire. You've got Champions League Varane. You've got Luke Shaw, Roberto Carlos reborn. You've got Paul Pogba, who on his day can look like the best player in the world. You've got Bruno Fernandes, the best player in the world at times. You've got McTominay, that Scottish grit, that proper Manchester United midfielder that's got a bit of everything about him. You've got Rashford, that guy who done everything off the pitch and can also do it on it and has that flair. You've got Ronaldo, the GOAT. Like, there's nothing else you can say about him. And then you've got Jadon Sancho, the next big English superstar. There is nothing that you can't love about that team. And no one's going to like what I say here, but I said it to Stu. I said it when Ollie was sacked. These players are all, unfortunately, a victim of circumstance. Circumstance of the position the club is in, but also circumstance of the coaching setup and the manager setup as well. I said this on day one with Rangnick, and this isn't anything on Rangnick. He's been thrown into a shitstorm. So nothing on him. But for a squad and a side like that, you've got to have a manager that gets the best out of you. And Rangnick was never going to come in as that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer-like motivator when he took over from Jose Mourinho and fire these players into some kind of form. That's not him. That's not the type of manager he is. That's not the manager we were getting with Rangnick. He was going to come in and try and set some sort of philosophy for this club to potentially take forward that Rangnick is this godfather and master of, or try and just shape something. So I think at that point, United sort of semi gave up on achieving anything this season, because Rangnick was never going to have the tools with these players to achieve anything. Now, where they become a victim of circumstance and where it all went wrong for Ollie was that, I hate to come back to coaching. I know me and Stu's disagreed on this a little bit, but we do have a lot of players in our side that do need to learn more. And I do think the game has changed a lot. I do think that you need to be taught football more nowadays because of the lack of players we've got coming through the ranks that actually live and breathe it. And that's what we were just talking about a second ago in terms of players that actually grew up watching the game and having the IQ to be able to deliver what they need to deliver across the pitch. And I think, unfortunately, with Ollie as the young, not very experienced manager that he was, and maybe the setup that he had with people also learning on the job, no matter how good they may or may not have been or go on to be, I just think that mix was wrong. I think if we turn back time, Rangnick comes in after Mourinho and tries to set something up, and Ollie comes in when it all went to shit with Rangnick. And I think that is a scenario and a situation that might have worked better the other way around. But as ever, United are chasing their tails. And I think ultimately that's the situation. So I've gone on a bit long here. United are in. I really do think that as a team, these players are a victim of circumstance massively. And I don't think that they're equipped to be able to go on that pitch and deliver what they're capable of. For example, Ronaldo, I had a chat with my dad the other day, he turned around and said he's done, he's finished. I went, no, give him chances to score, he'll score. Alanga, cross to him, score. Like the corner, perfect. Ronaldo's head, he'll score. Like the free kick, let Ronnie hit it, score. Give him the opportunity to score a goal, he'll score a goal. The issue is, Rangnick needs more from him for the team to be compatible and work within this system, and as a consistent team that can control and win games and have it in their possession, have it in their control wherever they go. So that was a bit long, but ultimately that's where I sit with this. I don't think that this team is an unlikable team. I just think they're a massive, unfortunately, culprit of circumstance, victim of circumstance. Stu, you was bobbling your head away a bit.
I was, because I was about to say you're right, but the problem with that is that where does common sense come into it? Everyday life, you have to have common sense. You know, when you're putting on your shoes, well, I'll put my left one on first rather than my right. It's everything is common sense in life. But herein lies the main issue, and this is where you are right, actually, about players that don't think. And a great example is Dalot. Everyone was blaming Maguire for the first Norwich goal yesterday, but actually the real problem started with Dalot. We got I can't remember the guy's name now. He's on the touchline, okay, and Dallow's 4 yards away from him instead of being 2 yards away from him, where he could have just lifted his foot. And as Benny says, just put in a crunching tackle. What happens is then they get a throw rather than the little dink that he puts in, and because because he's got round Dalot, there's a 12-yard gap. You'll notice this, Benny, because you were there. So Maguire has to come over and cover, which means that Lindelof has to come over and cover, which means that Shaw has to come over. Dalot has to come over and cover. Okay. Now, if Dalot had stopped that, Maguire's in the middle. He doesn't have to come over and cover. And this is the problem. So what you're saying, Ben, about players that can't adapt and actually understand and read the game of football, that's it in a nutshell. And all it is 3 yards of fine margin between a crossing attempt or a non-crossing attempt, and for pulling Maguire out of position.
We talk about common sense, Stu, and I agree with your analysis of that goal. You're absolutely spot on, and how anyone could blame Maguire for that goal and also Everton's goal as well. It's just nonsense, and it's agenda-driven. But what I would say to that is, I suppose the bit I missed out is you've then got the inconsistency for this squad and this team of players, but then you've also got the players who just aren't good enough. And the ones that aren't good enough, I think, are clear to the eye, and they are people like, Dalot. They're people at that level below of where we need to be. And I think, unfortunately, when you mix all that in with the squad we've got, the unconfident, like the lack of confidence, the circumstance and where we're going. But then this is also why I'm saying, this is for another day and another debate, Ten Hag doesn't get this right unless he can mass cull this squad in the summer. And I'm on about 10 to 12 players out the door.
They have to go.
And the ability to bring in 6 new signings, maybe even 6 young players that he can mould.
Agreed.
Because at this point, even if it means we're only finishing 8th next season, he can't go into next season and realistically achieve anything with this squad of players. It's just the balance isn't right. And we always talk about balance. The balance isn't right at all. So it's a difficult one. And looking at the rumours, 6 are going. Pogba, Cavani, Mata, Lingard, Matic. Well, that's 5, I suppose. Grant, there's your 6.
I'd keep Mata.
So, yeah.
I would keep Mata. Now, I advocated, sorry, guys, I'm taking over a bit, which I don't mean to. But I don't know if anyone saw, but I advocated that we started with Mata against Norwich, because I thought Mata, and it proved when he came on, I thought Mata would have been a much better fit. Remove
tempo switch
and put Mata in. And he made such a difference when he came on, because he's got that guile that you talk about, Ben. He's got that calmness in possession. He can do anything with a football, Mata can. But yes, people say he's too slow. He's too this. He's too that. You look at the season, it makes absolutely fuck all difference now. And I would give him the nod on Tuesday against Liverpool. I really would. Just to see what he can do.
Do you know what we've never done with Mata? We've never tried to move him back into an 8. If you're Pep Guardiola does that 3 seasons ago, moves him back into an 8 and makes him one of those 2 in the middle.
He's a great 10 though. He's a great 10, Ben. He's with a brilliant 10. So
but Rangnick doesn't really play with a 10.
No, I know, but he could do, and it could. Anyway, you're right, but I just wanted to make that point.
It's true. Anyway, let me go around one by one. Let's get some yes or no's. Benny, with what happened yesterday, I think it's a dead cert. But Pogba, does he stay after the summer? Yes or no?
No, not for me, mate. I think he's got his own way, mate. He's run down his contract. He's leaving for nothing. You know, I think he's gone, mate. And to be fair, mate, I'll quickly add this as well. When Pogba came back, I was buzzing him. Got a Paul Pogba tattoo on my leg. You know, because I had a silly bet with someone. Again, you know me and my silly bets. You know, because I didn't think he'd ever come back. I said, if that guy comes back, I'll get him tattooed on. See, I'm man of my word. You know, I've got Pogba shirts, everything. You know, I'm a big fan of Paul Pogba. It's not me having a agenda against Paul Pogba, but I reckon he's definitely gone. I think he'll probably go back somewhere where he's happy to play, you know, where he's got a million years on the ball, you know, so in the Premier League, he's got no time. I don't think his game suits the Premier League. So I think he's definitely gone.
Go on, James. Don't talk too much, mate.
I'll just say no and no. I don't think he stays. I'm like Benny. I think, especially when he first arrived, I was adored Pogba. That 2019 season where he was comfortably our best player and it looked like he was set on leaving, I was almost heartbroken. I've not been that upset about a player leaving since Ronaldo. He stayed, and it's just got progressively worse from there, hasn't it? We all know how good he is, but it's not working. It won't ever work. I hope that he moves somewhere and plays his best football, and we get to watch what Paul Pogba is without him harming us too much. That's an ideal situation. We can sit back and enjoy Paul Pogba rather than ripping our hair out, which we have done for 6 seasons. There's no denying that. You know, I love the bloke, but it's not worked out. That's partly United's blame, partly Pogba's, and I think everyone will accept that, and we'll just move on at the end of the season.
Anything else to add, James?
No.
Are you sure?
You really love it, don't you? You love ripping into him.
He's like my little brother.
Character building.
Stu, character building. It's called a team exercise. Stu, go on. What do you think?
Yeah, he goes for me. I think if I was Pogba personally, I'd be cutting my losses and try and go. Even if I've got to take a pay cut from somewhere, I think I would cut my losses. Connor's right, actually. I don't think any club actually does really want him. But I agree with Tyrone. If I was him, I'd do what I can to get back into PSG. Whether or not he displays a variety is completely, for me is a no. And he could end up on the bench. But I think, time's up for him, I'm afraid. It's a shame, but time's up.
Bainesy?
Yeah, I think his head's already out the door, especially what happened yesterday at Norwich. With Connor's comment about no other club wants him, I think what will happen is they'll because they're not paying a transfer fee, they'll probably give him a sign-on bonus, and then he'll maybe match his wages or give him slightly higher than what he's already on. But I think he's out the door. I don't think he's. To be honest, also I think it's probably a good thing that he goes. I think it's better for himself and the club. I think it's part ways. You did what you tried to do. You won 2 trophies with us. You scored in a final for us. Thank you, but it didn't quite work out. No love lost. Just it's fine, and hopefully we can recoup that and then try and sign some more midfielders in the summer. But yeah, I don't think he stays.
I think watch the Dybala Juventus situation.
You really think Dybala's going to come to United?
No. Dybala, I think, is going to go to Inter Milan. But if Dybala doesn't sign on,
good move for him. That is good move.
If Dybala doesn't sign back on for Juventus, I think Pogba goes back to Juve, because Juve will have the money then to be able to pay his wages.
I see. Yeah.
He wants.
Yeah.
I think if Dybala does, and the rumours are he will, I think he'll end up back at Juventus. Just a few last words from the guys watching. Sorry, I've been so late into your comments. Usually I'm on the ball better than this, but I've really enjoyed some of the conversation we've had in the middle of that Pogba chat. A bit too much. Connor said, I'd never back boo him, but let's not forget all the crap his agent comes out with, and don't even try defending saying it's not him. He knows full well what Ryder is going to
Yeah,
say.
that's what I
He
said
then went on to talk about the circus, which I think a couple of you guys have hit on. Jen says Pogba never respected the fans, and until now the fans respected Pogba, but he hasn't been a United player for almost a year already in terms of showing that he has cared. John says, I've never been a Pogba fan. He hasn't been consistent in a United shirt, but I wouldn't have booed him. The cupping of his ear was not helpful, but it's clear fans have had enough. Tyrone says, I hope Pogba is happy when he finally leaves. It's like the grass is greener type situation, isn't it? We'll see what he's like when he's at a different club. So many more comments have come in as well. Thank you guys for doing that. And also Tyrone here mentions, I see lots of Luka Modric still running in the field and working their socks off. Pogba should follow that example. Luka Modric, another player who you know growing up in the streets of Croatia, had a ball glued to his feet. And that's what, Stu, that outside of the foot, that outside of the foot pass. Oh, don't get me started.
Well, just before you say anything, I recall a story you once told me on a Monday night.
Genuinely.
That was the ball, wasn't it? That was the ball, wasn't it? You were playing.
That was the ball. That was the pass I played.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal.
So what you're saying is Luka Modric learned that off you, Ben, was it?
What I'm trying to say is anything's possible when you have a football at your foot. That's what I'm trying to say. And you've got to risk it for a chocolate biscuit. You love a bit of tiny temper, James. Don't even pretend you don't.
The thought, though, the speed of thought that he had as the ball came into him, the speed of thought to absolutely flip that in, it was phenomenal pass. But it did get me thinking about the one you told me about. On the Monday
genuinely, I love that pass. Just give it a go. Bruno done it as well, didn't he? Was it against Young Boys where he played it across to Ronaldo? But again, that's the playing football, trying something different, like having that thought of, okay, well, if that defender's body shape is a bit like that, if I can swing this round, he's going to try and go for it. And if I can get that dip and that curve right, he's getting nowhere near it. It will be tight, but then my striker can run through with the ball and go for it. It's just little things like that you pick up playing it and studying the game properly as a young person growing up. I can't
believe he's 36. I can't believe he's 36.
Yeah,
but
he runs the midfield. He's not as if like he gets it and he sprays up. He runs the midfield.
To be fair,
level as well.
To be fair, though, he's got Casemiro behind him, hasn't he? He breaks up the play brilliantly.
Yeah, I suppose. But again,
absolutely. And he's got good old Tony Cruz, and next door, the old crooner.
Yeah,
as well, giving it the big. But
genuinely, who do I need to get on? I need to get someone who I play football with on a Thursday night to come on and talk about that. The one I told you about, Stu, I was on the. So do you know at 7 aside or outside on the Astro pitches or 4Gs, you know that the area's round, so it's like a round semicircle. I got the ball on the edge of it one day and it was peeing it down. To which then the ball's bounced in front of me and I've just given it a flick with the outside of my boot, knowing that the keeper's come to try and close it down. I've hit it, it's spun off my foot and it's hit the post. And the keeper shouted between the time that it's hit my foot and it's gone and hit the post, he shouted, "Nowhere near, lads." And literally, it was that close, like that. It was that much of a spin. It was that close. But yeah, I love an outside of the foot pass. Don't worry, James. One day you'll play football.
I like the old backspin. I do. If I'm about 10 yards just off the centre of the D, I'll throw some backspin on it. That's just to James.
StreamYard account.
Just for James. That's to cut under it, pal. So the ball goes like that. To cut under it, mate. So the ball goes like. Bit of backspin.
Yeah, lovely.
Fucking terrible.
No, he loves it. He hasn't been on a show with me for a little while. I have to rip him.
I'm gonna cry tonight. I hope you all know
that. Oh no, we've made a 12-year-old cry.
Yeah, don't cry. Don't cry.
Loads of comments coming in. Yeah, that now Hammer's trying to claim that he's played football. No, we're on about football, normal football. We're talking about normal football, Hammer, not American football. That's come on, Hammer. Oh, I love Hammer. I've not spoken to him in ages either. Right, let's move on and chat a bit about the protest because I know we're coming towards an hour now. I just want to read out a little statement that the 1958 have put out, and then I'll say a couple of things, and we'll speed through this bit if that's all right, guys, because I think a lot has been dwelled on this, so I don't want to get too deep. But they put up yesterday. Today was a victory for every Red who didn't think they had a voice. This weekend is just the beginning. We don't stop until the Glazers are gone. Plans will be released after we know the result of the Chelsea game tomorrow. You should all be proud of yourselves, young and old. And there's some phenomenal pictures of young and old fans protesting in the most peaceful way that I've seen so far. Stu, I'm going to come to you first on this, and we'll keep it brief. We then hear from Benny, who was at Old Trafford yesterday. You made the point about the last protests that Must put together and were responsible for before the Liverpool game were an absolute shambles, and not the way a protest should be. So quickly, how nice was it to see that this was done in a much more fitting and adequate way?
So my lad was at the game, and I said to him before he went up, just be careful. It's entirely up to you if you stand outside for 17 minutes or you go in. My recommendation was that he went in, and I was wary that there would be some thugs in there that would chat abuse to fans that would go in. I stand corrected. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was well put together. I said on a couple of shows just recently, I think the right to protest is correct, and I think they did it in the right way. So I stand corrected on that, and I'm very, very proud as a Manchester United fan to have seen that. However, I don't feel it will work, and I've gone on record as saying that it's not just a 5 billion process anymore; it's an 8 billion process. The buying of this club, because although their reasons are noble, with Chelsea going at 3 billion currently today, which means we will go for 5, which means whoever buys it, if somebody put 5 billion on the table, they're going to want 8 billion out of it. They're going to want a 3 billion profit. So it's an 8 billion transaction overall in the future. And I'm so sorry to say, I can't see anybody forking out 5 billion for us without leveraging any kind of debt against the club. And as much as I agree with these guys, because I was really worried about the 1958, I've got to say, I didn't know much about them. Bainesy knows. I was very respectful. I didn't know much about them. I don't like the name, if I'm being honest, but they appear to have done this in the correct way. Jake was never frightened at all. He wasn't put off. And he enjoyed the experience he's done, all season going to Old Trafford. We're 29 years with our season ticket next year, and I'm hoping that with Ten Hag coming in, and if they do continue to protest, if they do it in the right way, don't upset anybody, don't affect anybody, be peaceful, that they've got the right thing to do. But I don't see an end goal, I'm afraid. That's all I'll say.
Bainesy, just quickly coming over to you, because I think there's a fair point made there by Stu. We're talking about this being a peaceful protest and the group getting it right compared to maybe the previous ones. But obviously a big part of all this needs to be attention and eyes on the clear message that us United fans saw yesterday. But what about the wider public? What about the damage to the Glazers' names? With these more peaceful protests, do you think that maybe the message won't be as heard more widely? Because let's face it, before that Liverpool game, what happened? It was everywhere. It was on every news outlet. The Glazers were getting stopped in America to talk about it by American news channels that never cover this shit. So is there also a bit of a worry maybe that going too peaceful, too targeted, it's not really going to get that message heard?
No. I think I said it in the protest preview on Thursday that it needs to be continuous, and then with that, if it gets continuous, it needs to get bigger and bigger. I agree with Stu. I was really skeptical of this protest, and I thought it was going to turn into an absolute shit show, especially because I know a little bit of background behind the 1958 and what they used to do pre all these protests and everything. I must admit that from what I've seen and what the videos and all the reports that have come out from people around the ground, it was peaceful, it was legal, and it was the right thing that they did, which again I'm so happy that was. Now, in order for this to get bigger, I also said on Thursday there needs to be a face of the protest. There needs to be a big figure like Gary Neville, like a Rio Ferdinand, to come out and sort of not necessarily lead it, but just to be a face of the protest, so they can use their platform to reach out to the bigger media platforms. You know, we did get BBC. I know Simon Stone, the BBC journalist, he was very hot on it. There was quite a few journalists that had covered it. And to go back on the one last year, which was done by MUST, it was a shit show because everyone latched on the fact that we got the game cancelled, and it's because people were on the pitch, and it kind of sort of steered away from the main point of the protest. There may have been 1,000 or 500 people on the pitch, but there was 10, 12,000 people outside, jeering and chanting and wanting the Glazers out. So I think what happened here yesterday was a much better protest, and hopefully this then continues and they continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger until where there will be pressure in the States where they're saying, look, there's some really big unrest. And I can't remember who the journalist was and who she reported to, but I think it was Sky. I think it was Sky News or CNBC or something like that. So it only has to, if they keep continuing, it needs to continue. It needs to have a figurehead at the top where everyone can look at. But it's definitely a good start. But again, like Stu said, who's going to, apart if you're Elon Musk, I mean, that's the only person that can really come out and spend £8 odd billion on a football club. And I don't think that's his best intentions at the moment. So let's see what happens.
James, before we find out a bit more about what actually happened at Old Trafford yesterday from Benny, we've heard some thoughts there about the selling of United, about the protest that happened. Yeah, a lot of people talking online about how it will probably fall on deaf ears. So the question for you is there anything more United fans can actually do? I mean, you get the accounts telling you to stop following the Man United social media accounts, stop buying merchandise, do this, do that. In your head, is there much more United fans can do than go to the games, have banners, and be heard through these peaceful protests?
I think that's it. Just consistency with these protests. Obviously, we had the not so peaceful ones at the back end of last season, which, while they probably weren't done the right way, they're successful in terms of getting the word out there, getting media coverage and everything. And then, they did it right at the end of the season. So it stopped for the off season. And by the time we got back to this season, there's been nothing. We're now, 6 games away from the end of the season, and they've started again. It seems a little bit bizarre timing, because how are you going to get any momentum going when we've got 3 home games left? It needs to be, like has been said before, there needs to be more of them. They obviously work. There's no doubt about it. These protests will work eventually, but when you're protesting once a year, the Glazers aren't going to care. It would just be like a little national holiday day for them to get through every year, and then they can get back to draining the club of all its money. There needs to be consistency. Now, I could be, I'm not that clued up on these protests. There could be a very good reason why it's not more consistent, because it does seem a bit baffling to me that this is the first one of the season and we're 32 games into it. But keep doing peaceful protests as the one that was done on Saturday, more consistent. If possible, every home game, there should be some sort of protest outside. You can't, otherwise it's just going to fall on deaf ears. It's going to drop into the void. So realistically, there's not much else you can do. We can't all chip in a fiver and buy Manchester United. That's not how it works. So you're going to have to force them out some way, legally, obviously. So keep doing that more often is basically my message.
Well, you couldn't chip in a fiver because you're a uni student and don't have a job.
No, obviously not.
Get himself a paper round.
You have to start paying them.
You'll get a fiver. Basie, why did you just say that? Why did you just have to say that? No, it's gonna go to his head. I'm gonna
see myself actually
now. Yeah, you know where the door is. Close it when you're on your way out. Blimey. Yeah. James, you have got a job now, haven't you? You said me the other day that you were working.
I actually have multiple jobs. This is a proper student lifestyle. Yeah. I put in some hard graft for this channel, trust me. I go out of my way to make
leafleting? Are you leafleting on club nights? Or is it Oxide and Neutrino where they play your local club?
Bit of babysitting, a bit of club promoting, and mowing a few old ladies' lawns. It's honest work.
Can you babysit at 12 years old? Is that legal?
I think you're meant to be 13, aren't you, before you're left alone? But
I'm
very mature for my age.
It's just the lack of a beard. Apart from that, mature. Oh, nice, mate. Well, congratulations on your multiple jobs. One day you can tell us about what you do.
Thank you. Thank you. I actually, Ben, you like this. I actually work at a radio station, so you could.
No, you don't.
On how to be yeah, I do.
Doing what?
I'm a broadcast assistant at Radio Nottingham.
Seriously?
Yeah, I promise you.
I like you a bit more now. Do you want some help?
I'll send you a picture of the studio next time I'm in.
James is going to say it's really easy work.
It is. Piece of piss.
I'll get geeky. Send me a picture of the studio,
easy.
mate.
It's easy for me behind the scenes. I don't know what it must be easy for Ben. All he has to do is just talk for an hour and get paid for it. That's all I do for United. I don't get paid for it.
I'm good at that, at the very least. It's the face for radio jibes that I like to take my paycheck home for. It's just like every time if I can have one of those, it's fantastic as long as the pay slip comes through. That's absolutely fine. I'll take a couple more then. Nice, mate. I never knew that. You learn something new every day. Well done, mate.
Proud dad.
Well, yeah. I don't know what to say to that. I really don't know what to say to that.
Just say well done. That's all I need.
Well done, son.
Well done. That's all I need.
You should. You should see. We could do a show of mine and James's WhatsApp conversation. I genuinely think that.
Is this what it is? Did we just get a literally 30-second snippet of your WhatsApp conversation?
Do you know what? I'm not. Well, wait a second. What can I put? Let me have.
It's a bigger loving than Spurs and Liverpool, isn't it? Jeez.
No. So today, I sent you all a message saying about can you tweet out the link before we go live. So I sent that message. To which I sent it to James and he said, done. And I put, you tweeted about AFU? That must be a first, right? To which then he put, count it as your wedding gift. To which then I replied with, it's probably all you can afford. That's basically mine and James's conversations are us just trying to out-mug each other off. There's more brutal stuff than that, which I won't go into. I think you called me daddy at some point, but let's stop now.
Easily.
That's for uncut.
That's defamation of character, that is.
All I can think now is that cup. Do you remember that I had you in lockdown? The coffee mug that had daddy written on it. But you guys must have been on the show. Like, I brought it to the show one time.
With
Joe, yeah. God, that's a flashback. James, you made it weird with dad is what Hammer says. These live streams do go off, don't they? We need to bring in All for United memberships where these are literally only streamed to a certain audience that actually want to see this.
That won't cancel it.
Yeah. Otherwise, cancel culture will come for us. Benny, let me come over to you then. Inside Old Trafford after all that. If you're still watching and you want to hear about the protests, here we go. Benny, let's talk about those protests. You was at Old Trafford yesterday. A, did you partake? And B, whereabouts were, because I know you where were you sitting yesterday?
I didn't partake because obviously I take my son who's in a wheelchair and he's autistic. So unfortunately, with autistic children, they've got a set way of doing things. If it's out of sequence, he'll kick off. So I had to get in there nice early in the Stretford end in the new wheelchair section there. So I didn't actually partake in this protest, but from what I've heard, it was all peaceful, everything. And then when they all started coming back in after the 17 minutes duration. There was a lot of anti-Glazer chants. There was a lot of lot of scarf swearing as well. A lot of, especially around when we scored goals on Ronaldo's scored his second goal, and it was the Viva Ronaldo started at half the Stretford end, but the TRA was singing "We Want Glazers Out," which was quite, and then that sort of overtook it. So, and the whole of the Stretford end then. Joined in with the chants "We Want Glazers Out," which, and it was chanted and sung throughout the game. Anti-Glazer chants throughout the game. I stand up if you hate Glazers and that, which the whole ground stood up on a few occasions that was sung. And that's the first time I've really properly heard proper singing throughout the whole game about the Glazers and everything, about the discontent from the fans to the ownership. Whereas usually in the past, you probably get a couple of chants sporadically throughout the game, which don't really get picked up. So it had its desired effect, you know. It picked up in the ground as soon as those that wanted to come back in after 17 minutes. And I think that the vast majority did, because all of a sudden Old Trafford went from having lots of empty seats around to being almost completely full. So I think it was very well received, you know. Obviously, no trouble. What I will say about the other ones is I don't think you could completely blame it on Must, by the way. That one with the Liverpool one, let's not forget, was amped up frustration from the European Super League and on the back of other protests from other clubs as well over the Super League. And it had to. I don't agree with the violence, and I don't agree with the property damage of Old Trafford, but something like that had to happen to get the Glazers to finally, after 15, 16 years, to say a word. But since then, as people have said, it's calmed down again. I think especially when Ronaldo came back, but even before Ronaldo came back. But I put that down to fans being excited and thrilled to be back at football stadiums again after being locked out after lockdown, you know, for nearly enough a year and a half, 2 years, whatever it was, you know. We was all locked out. So it was all, you know, happy and boisterous that we could go back to a football game. So I think that also had an effect on the continuation of the protests. And then the Ronaldo thing happened, and then I think everyone buzzed off that. You had record-breaking shirt sales, mega stores running out of Ronaldo shirts and the Ronaldo name sets and what have you. So it has took a while for it to come back. And because it's gone quiet again, we've not heard anything from the Glazers again. It's amazing, this, isn't it? Goes quiet, yeah, not a peep from them. But then I see on social media that the NFL season's about to kick off. Lo and behold, who's in front of the camera speaking about it? Oh, Joe Glazer, this guy that's supposed to be a big bad Man United fan. Well, how come every season before their season starts, he's up in front of American TV cameras, bigging up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, bigging up the NFL, bigging up Tom freaking Brady, man. You know, why can't he do that for Manchester United? I thought this guy was the guy that's, out of all the Glazers, is the one that loves Manchester United. Well, he can't love Man United because, you know, he's not even going in front of American cameras in the States where, listen, you know, it could be broadcast all around the world within seconds on social media talking about Manchester United and his enthusiasm about Manchester United, enthusiasm about Cristiano Ronaldo. Not an absolute dicky boo from him. Must have not getting the desired answered about the share scheme that was supposed to come out, you know, which is, they said would be sorted before the start of the season. It's nearly enough the end of the season. The reason why I must have holding up because they're not happy about what's being proposed. Nothing from the Glazers again. Absolute complete silence. And the thing is, yes, continuous protest, and I'm with Stu. I don't think it's going to work. You have to maybe think of it differently. Instead of maybe staying outside for 17 minutes, or because you know you're not going to get everybody to boycott a game. Old Trafford will still be relatively full. You know, you're not going to. Why don't you do a sit-in at the end of the game when there's a game on Sky Sports or BT Sport and the world's media's in there because it's a big game? For argument's sake, let's say next season, United-Liverpool. In the 90 minutes, the whole ground sits in. Your stewards ain't going to eject the whole ground. The police haven't got the powers to eject the whole ground. You stay in there for an hour after the game. Anti-Glazer chants. Bring your flags, you know, and all that. Bring your scarves or whatever. And just have nothing but anti-Glazer chants for that half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. Something a little bit different. You know, the world's cameras are going to see. Sky Sports are going to be in their studio, and all you can hear in the background is when they're trying to analyse the games, United fans with anti-Glazer chants. It needs something a little bit different, I think. Something a little bit more thoughtful than a march from a pub to the ground. You know, we've done that tirelessly now. We've protested outside Old Trafford peacefully. Why can't we have a peaceful sit-in protest of Old Trafford? You know, yes, eventually we're all going to go. So long as there's no property damage, people not trying to get onto onto the pitch and trying to, just sit in your seats or stand up, whatever's the most comfortable for you. Do a little bit something different that's going to capture, that might capture the Glazers' eyes. Because you could leave an empty stadium, they don't care. 55,000 odd season ticket holders already paying for their ticket money. They couldn't give a damn if 55,000 season ticket holders didn't turn up to take their seats. But if 55,000 season ticket holders plus your membership holders will just unite for one game, I'm saying the biggest game in English football again, Liverpool, next season, sit in and have a sit-in after the game's done, that's going to capture the audience. That's going to capture the world. That's going to send a clear message to the Glazers. You cannot ignore this. You got fans sitting inside, not going. They want to speak to you, and I'm sure that you probably hear Joel, then pipe up and spiral more verbal diarrhea out his mouth that he cares about the club and blah blah blah. It's just the one thing that really annoys me is that how when the NFL. When the shit NFL, which no one gives a fuck about outside America, kicks off, that all of them are all in front of cameras. Or they're all on the pitch. Oh, yeah, we've won a trophy, for chucking a ball across the field. Oh, Tom Brady at 47, he's come back. He's our saviour. He's getting paid more than Ronaldo for chucking a ball from one end of the field to the other field. It's not hardly the most exciting sport. It's just a pussy-fied version of rugby.
Hammer's getting ready to punch you in the face right now.
I know he is. I love Hammer, by the way. I love his pal. But it's like, where's your passion for Manchester United? You own and I want to know how much money is going in. Our money out of our football club is going into that American team, because there's not a cat's chance in hell they earn all that money to pay Tom Brady more than Cristiano Ronaldo. There's not. It's coming from our source. You can guarantee it is. I don't care when people say, "Oh, the NFL is you can't have outside source money." Where's the Glazers getting this money from? It's us. It's out of our club. Old Trafford's rotting. Carrington's rotting. The team is an absolute cesspit. But the American football team, the NFL starting now. Oh, yuppie, let's all jump up for joy. Where's your passion for Manchester United? If you don't have the passion, sell it on. I know Stu said that he's going to take 8 billion. That's the great question. But why can't they just fuck off? Leave us alone. United can sustain itself,
I'll tell you what it'll take, Benny. It'll take 5 billion to buy it, and then I reckon whoever buys it will want a 3 billion profit out of it. That's where I get to the 8 billion.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying. I mean, people say who can afford it, but if someone could pay 3 or 4 billion for Chelsea, Manchester United are one of the biggest football clubs in the world. Yeah. No disrespect to Chelsea Football Club, but they're not on United's level. Yes, I know they're the most successful team of the 21st century. Yeah, fair enough. But in terms of trophies, let's. I don't know, man. I'm just getting frustrated that you don't hear from these owners. But as soon as NFL is there, they're piping up. They're in front of cameras. Where's your passion? Joe Glazer, you're supposed to be this big Man United fan. Where's your passion for it? Where's it gone? Where are you from the cameras? Where are you going? Where's your, you're in front of the cameras explaining why the share scheme's not working with Must. What's happening with Old Trafford? What's your vision? What do you want for Old Trafford? Do you want a brand new stadium? Do you want to redevelop it? What's your vision for Manchester United in 10 years' time? Do you want a championship winning Manchester United side that'll earn you even more money than this finishing fourth bollocks does, or finishing wherever we do finish? A successful football team. Do you imagine if we start winning trophies again? You're going to attract all sorts of sponsors that are going to pay even more money into your back pocket, Joel. I cannot believe people sit behind and say, "Oh, the Glazers are one of some of the best business." They're not, because look at United. It's rotten all around them, and you know what I mean. And they don't see that if you have a successful football club, sponsorships will be lined up your door, knocking down. Oh, you want £1 billion for us to sponsor the shirts? There you are, Mr. Glazer. There's £1 billion for you, because we know that you're a successful football club. We can attach your brand to you. Everything's hunky dory. It's all a bed of roses, but it's not all a bed of roses. A training ground sponsor pulled out because of the protest last time.
Well, therein lies your issue, Benny. Benny, what you just said in lies your issue. There's a big problem. There's two things about protesting. people have already pulled out the club due to protests. So you have to be careful.
Yeah, that's true, mate. That's true. Yeah.
So what I think needs to happen, and this is really radical, and I'm going to put it all on Must right now. What I think needs to happen is Must need to go out and need to find 3 serious buyers. Okay, 3 serious buyers. They need to go and interview and try and find and lobby 3 serious buyers, whoever these buyers are, and whatever the amount of money it will take, Benny. I don't know how much it will take, but whatever the amount of money it will take. So I want Must, okay, who were babbling on about this share scheme, forget all of that, go out, use your contacts and find 3 buyers. Do everything, do the due diligence, do absolutely everything before you then present to the Glazers. You've almost got to give the Glazers an opportunity to have a look and see what's out there. If the Glazers right now came out and said, Manchester United's up for sale, we know there'd be hundreds of people out there interested, but it's who's got that serious money, who can put that serious money into the club that they can buy it and they can walk away with 3 billion quid, because that's what they'll end up by doing. And so Must, this so-called group of financiers who are supposedly negotiating the £10 million sale share, which, by the way, 10 million quid, it's a little drop in the ocean to what Manchester United is actually worth. £10 million worth of shares.
But also, still on that, the reason why Must, and I'm fed up with biting my tongue on this. Why do we think Must are so desperate for this fan share thing to happen? Who's going to get the majority of the fan share?
Well, they are, and we know all of that, and that's why.
So it's a big reason why they're pushing that.
Yeah,
and it's not just for the interest of United; it's the interest of them as well.
That's why I want them to do something different. I want them to stand up. They give us all this bullshit and all this rhetoric about being for the club and for the fans. Okay, well, do something then. Go out and find 3 buyers. Do something, because the only way you're going to coerce the Glazers into selling, is to offer them something so astronomical that they cannot turn it down. And Benny, I agree with you, but do you know what the biggest problem is? They own the jewel in the crown in world football. Nobody else can say that. You can own Chelsea, you're quite right. You can own fucking Real Madrid. They own Manchester United. They own the jewel in the crown.
Yeah, they're not going to give that up lightly.
Global
and football. Also, these guys are ruthless. They ain't going to go out to the rest of the world and go, we're going to sell, because that puts them in a vulnerable position. They're never going to do it.
Which is why
someone needs to present 3 buyers with 3 legitimate bids and say, look, they've sourced the money, or they've got the money. Here are your bids. These are your offers. This is what we're happy with. You have to accept one of these. Tell us why you're not.
Yeah, and walk away, because the fans don't want you to say it. So protesting will work. This is why I think, Benny, protesting will work just a certain amount. I think the more and more and more and more and more and more and more we do it, if a new buyer comes in after shelling out 5 billion quid and it starts to go wrong in 18 months' time, what's he going to be thinking? Bollocks! Fuck! They're going to be after me now.
It's like if the Glazers know what to sell. Like, if they don't want to sell Man United, they were happy to use it as a cash cow. But also, if you don't want to sell, but the least you could do is just invest in the playing squad, invest in the Old Trafford, invest in making Manchester United or trying to get Manchester United back on where we were supposed to be, the best in English football again. And we don't have to like the Glazers, you know what I mean? But if they could do something like that, just show a little bit of passion for Manchester United, to just give us what we need, you know what I mean? Give us, upgrade Old Trafford or build a new stadium, whatever they want to do, whatever, if anything ever does come of that, by the way, which, as we all know, it could just be a smokescreen and a bullshit again, because they've been on about Old Trafford for the last 20 years now. Give us the elite training ground. We've got passed by fucking Leicester, for fuck's sakes. Leicester City have overtaken us in training facilities alone.
But Benny, on that, right? Sorry, just to butt in there, because I was going to make the point off the back of what you said. I genuinely don't think that success on the pitch or a better training ground makes Manchester United more profitable as a business over the next
I don't care about profit or business. I just want to get Manchester United back to where it should be.
Of course we do, as fans.
Challenging again, being the best that we can be, having the best facilities, having the best stadium. You know, I mean, yes, it's going to cost them a lot of money in the short term, but you imagine how much more money they can make back in return in the future. You know, like I said, off sponsorship deals and people lining up, knocking up their doors. Mr. Glazer, you know, your team's brilliant. Can we, you know, sponsor you for X amount of money? You know,
I think a successful club and better facilities makes it a more attractive purchase for a potential future buyer, but not necessarily. It doesn't necessarily make them more money in the short term on the long run for owning the gem that is Manchester United. I don't think Manchester United needs to be successful to be the biggest footballing business on planet Earth.
True.
And I don't think it needs to be. And that is the issue. And that's where the issue lies. And that isn't down to shirt sponsorship. That's not down to that's not down to shirt sales. That's down to the sponsorship of the items that Manchester United offer. And Manchester United have multiple revenue opportunities that they can sell that doesn't rely on success on the pitch. For instance, Carrington, like they can easily bring in a naming right and a sponsorship for that training ground as it is right now. And year on year, make profit on that sponsorship without there being any on the pitch success or also any at all investment in that training ground. And it's the same with Old Trafford. It's the same with the shirt sponsorship. And that's because, as Bainesy said, rightly so, and then Stu alluded on to, they've got the gem. They've got the gem in Manchester United. And unfortunately, and us as fans, we don't like to hear that. But I genuinely think, with my business head on, and me and Stu always have this conversation, with our business heads on and like looking at businesses, etc.
Unfortunately.
That's the sad fact of it.
There's a sad fact of it as well, is I fear that and I said this when we was originally doing the videos back in the day about the when the process started off the back of the ESL stuff, is that I still think that these lot will breed the club dry till its last pound coin, and then just leave us hung out to dry, you know, when it's not profitable anymore. Because how long could they go on sustaining, you know, the commercial stuff when, if the teams are struggling off the field, on the field, should we say, you know, how long is Manchester United's name alone going to attract?
It's the brand value
thereafter, you know.
The only way that's going to happen, and unfortunately, no one's going to like to hear this. The only way that's going to happen is if we get relegated.
The problem with the Man United name, the problem with the Man United name, Benny, it sits up there alongside Aston Martin.
Of course, yeah.
It's up there alongside
global brands,
Apple. It sits up there alongside Tesla now, where Tesla is. That's the biggest problem. And if we were a Leicester City or a Chelsea or even a Manchester City, really, because all their figures are bollocks. They're nowhere near correct, their figures. You're absolutely right. The club would deteriorate rapidly. But Manchester United is this blue chip brand of 10. It's just a brand. And whether we
can go anywhere in the world and you'll know the LA Lakers, you'll know Chicago Red Bulls, you'll know the Red Sox, and you'll know Manchester United.
And the problem we got is, and we do hate these guys, but Richard Arnold, our managing director, was instrumental in building this brand that what Manchester United has become. And where they fell down was they should have kept that completely separate, had the football side run by itself, and then do what they want to do. If they'd done that 10 years ago, Manchester United would be absolutely, you know, City could go. City could go with their fucking sovereign wealth. The same with Newcastle, the same with PSG. Would have made no difference. And how strange is it that we're still self-sustainable, even today? Still self-sustainable.
Let's not forget, though, guys, we can't look at City's books and success as
they're wrong. They're wrong, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. We can't take that, just for anyone out there listening, we can't take that as a model for how we can create a successful club with money.
Their books
we just
bollocks.
can't.
Their books
all of it's bollocks. That's just all bollocks. And it's the same what's going to come along with Newcastle as well. But you know what? I've loved the pathways we've gone on this show. It's been great.
I've learned about finance because I'm clueless about finance. So I'm glad to correct me.
You make a really good point, though, pal. At the end of the day, there does come that little bit of extra push if they were successful. But the brand, unfortunately, has overtaken the club.
Got you.
And that's all we're trying to say, really. And that's
why
the problem.
We're not Manchester United Football Club anymore, are we?
No, yeah,
Thinking
we're
that-
not
we
based
are
on
Manchester
United.
United, which is a
Yeah.
pain in the ass. I
Martin
think
Edwards,
James is probably.
Amen.
I think the reason why James is being really quiet is because he's having the discussion with the guys in the live chat about aesthetically how the NFL players are built better than footballers. And is that right, James?
Aren't half of them fat NFL players? Aren't the defensive linebackers fat or something?
That's a conversation happening in the live chat.
Isn't
I
it?
don't
I
quite know
thought
what's
they were
going on
big,
here.
chunky.
Well, Ben, you'll know
Well,
this better than anyone. As soon as £5 billion was mentioned, that's over my head. Or the only reference of money I have is the £25 a month I get pocket money from my parents to go and buy sweets in the shop. So all this big adult money talk
Jesus,
is
I wish Jake could settle for that.
so far ahead.
This is what the bullying does.
Oh, sorry,
It makes him. Yeah, it makes him. Right, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for getting offensive
Yeah,
linesman
thank you.
asked to. Logan's in there, Tyrone's in there, guys. You've been brilliant in that live chat. I've not used it anywhere near enough as I should do. Make sure you hit like on the video, get in the comments, subscribe as well, share this link to a friend. Let's build up the views on this. Last word next week's going to be hosted by Callum, as I will be getting married the next day. So there is no chance I'm spending the night before my wedding with you lot. Sorry, boys.
Yeah,
Nice,
very
so
good.
loved.
Sorry, boys. I'll message you in the group
No,
chat.
we know where we stand now, Ben. Thanks for that.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Bainesy,
appreciate
I could have given you an invite and you probably
Yeah,
could have made
I
it.
was going to say,
Tell
I'll put a noise complaint in. Don't worry.
He's over there somewhere at the moment, behind that wall, in the far
Bainesy-
distance.
Bainesy, I'd be fuming if I were you, pal. Absolutely fuming.
Yeah, I would be as well.
Yeah, I'd be livid.
It's all right. I'm busy anyway, Ben. Don't worry.
As half my guests said, surprisingly.
Yeah.
So the guys will be back next week. We've got loads of content coming up, including James Ridge, the journalist and broadcast assistant. Sorry, John. He is hosting a show that's airing tomorrow morning. That's our Liverpool preview. It's going to lift your spirits and get you excited for us thrashing the old rivals, isn't it, James?
No, but you do get to see me.
Oh,
Wow.
That's short and
Wow.
sweet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely flooding now, James.
That's what most his girlfriends have said about him too.
Do you know what?
Are we doing tactical preview Thursday? Have we got a game at the weekend? I can't remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Arsenal, isn't it?
Arsenal.
Saturday.
Yeah, I still, mate.
Arsenal Saturday,
Early
yeah.
kick off on Saturday.
Liverpool,
That's the
Arsenal,
early
Chelsea.
kick-off, isn't it? Yeah. You at the Emirates, Benny?
Emirates, pal, yeah.
I love that ground. It's stunning, and the away end's amazing.
Yeah, it's carbon copy of Sporting Lisbon and Benfica's grounds.
It is, isn't it? You've actually got room. I mean, you can literally relax, can't you? It's amazing. Absolutely
Cameron's
love
just
it,
gone.
love it.
This is why James is behind the scenes. He is terrible at marketing.
Oh.
James, sell tomorrow's show, 9 a.m.
Well,
Go.
we have two new guests on who were both very, very good. So that's like shiny new Jadon Sancho signings to the AFU channel. So you should be excited about that. Look out
Okay.
for them. And
LA
Neil
Go on.
Burton wasn't as miserable as he usually is. So that's something to tune into.
Hey, we love Neil.
We like that.
Do you reckon that one of them will take Stu's place on the tactical preview soon?
God, I really hope so, yeah.
Love that. Llove that. Right.
All right, James. Jesus,
I've got a head.
for that.
I've got to head down the lorry park that is the M20 at the moment. So thank
Yes.
you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of your bank holiday weekend. As I said, hit subscribe. We're glad to be back next week. There's loads of content throughout this week because we've double stacked with games. So loads of chance for you to see all these faces, I hope. For now, we're going to get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your Easter weekend and ciao for now.